Welcome everyone to lesson number 7 on measuring distance. I'm Mr. C. What we're going to be talking about is how to measure a particular line segment. So if we're given a line segment in the class, let's say we have line segment AB right here, that would be line segment AB. Line segment AB is measurable, and when we use the measuring notation, we drop the line segment and we would write something like AB is equal to a particular distance. If I were to lay a ruler on top of this line segment and measure it, let's say that it actually comes up to be 4 inches, I could write it's equivalent to 4 inches in length. Right, notice the difference between the notation line segment AB versus just AB with no notation on top. That's what we do when we're talking about a distance. Let's take a look at some specific examples with the rulers. On this first ruler you see on the screen here, it's actually in centimeters. I want to find the locations of A, B, C, and D. First thing to notice with centimeters, it's very typical that typically they go by tenths, which would be 0.1 of a centimeter. Okay, these are actually called millimeters. These very, very small widths on the ruler are called millimeters. If you start off the edge of the ruler in this particular case would be our 0, and you notice that A is at the third mark, so A would be equivalent to 0.3 centimeters. If you look at B, the halfway points, since we're going by tenths, are 0.5 or halfway, so it's 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, or 8 tenths. That would be B. B would be 8 tenths of a centimeter. C would actually be 1 and 6 tenths centimeters, 1.6 we commonly call that, and D would be equivalent to 2.5 or 2.5 centimeters. You can always go back and view this video a second time. When we use inches, inches do not go by typically. They can. There is something called a metric measurement or metric inch. But we typically go with fractions, and this very smallest is usually a 16th. They go by halves, fourths, eighths, and sixteenths. So if we think about this first edge of our ruler being 0, we'll notice that there's 16 lines of different sizes between 0 and 1, or should I say there's 16 lines or 16 spaces to get to 1. All right, so A is on the very first line, so that will be our 1/16 of an inch. All right, B is on our 1, 2, 3, 4th line, so that would be 4/16 of an inch, but we would want to simplify that to 1/4 of an inch. C would be right at the halfway mark, and so you could write 8. It actually is on the 8th mark. You could write 8 out of 16, but it's much better to write it's ½ inch. All right, and D is 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 sixteenths. It's at the 14th mark, and you would simplify that to 7/8 of an inch. By the way, a secondary notation would be 2 marks, kind of look like a quotation mark. Let's take a look at these examples. Determine the lengths indicated by the bars. These are all in inches. You can pause this video and determine them yourself. I'm going to go ahead and give the answers. This first one would be 3 1/2 inches. All right. This second one would be 5 3/4 or 3/4 inches. And this last one down here, I'm having a little trouble seeing it myself, but it looks like it's 1 5/8 inch. All right. On our next page here, we have a couple examples with centimeters. You can see the first purple bar across the top goes to the 10.5. We would write that as 10.5 centimeters. And this bottom one here looks like it's the line just before 14.5, so I'm going to call that 14.4 centimeters. That's how you would use your rulers.